Red line logbook here for Wistoria chapter 19. And we start off where we left off with Will getting his goggles destroyed. Obviously, the entire team regroups, picks up Lyanna and Will to see how they're doing. And I assumed Will would then snap because his goggles had destroyed, but instead, he's basically trembling at this point. Lyanna then realizes that they're doomed and there's no way they're going to win. And so she declares that she's going to give them time to escape while she gives up her life. Clennett obviously goes against this, but Lyanna then points out, do you know why my family has short lifespans? Because we're knights who give their lives for their comrades, which was pretty obvious. That was the reason back when it was revealed that they are close quarter knight fighters. It makes perfect sense that many of her family would just die young, doing the exact same thing that she plans on doing here. Jagner, of course, seeing her as his equal, decides to stand next to her, declaring that he would also like to protect Will. And so the two rush in, basically ready to give up their lives to save the rest. Theon begins to basically rationalize in his own head the idea of escaping and leaving the other two to die. He says it would be the right thing to do because there's no point in letting them kill themselves just as if none of them make it out there alive. But obviously he's not actually moving, which means he's just rationalizing and can't actually go along with running away. Will then quietly asks Theon to punch him in the face, and Theon is like, what are you talking about? And apparently, the thing that was keeping Will together was those goggles, in a sense. Will straight up admits that he's scared and he's shaking at this very moment, and there's nothing he can do to overcome this fear. So anytime Will put on those goggles, it wasn't him getting serious, it was him overcoming the fear that he was feeling at that moment. He was scared out of his mind. He didn't want to actually do what he was about to do, but he put on his gift that he was received from Elfie, and that gave him the courage to move forward. And now that gift is gone, he's just trembling in fear. This pisses Theon off endless amounts of fury, because it was Will's plan to fight that thing. It was Will's plan to put them in the situation that is about to get everyone killed. And so Theon doesn't just punch him once, he starts beating on Will's face. Eventually, Will is able to stop the punching and thanks Theon for getting him to calm down. And then, Will does what he always does. He pulls out his sword and rushes forward. Theon gets pissed off because Will just rushed forward again into death. And he's like, I wasn't afraid at all. And Clenett's response is, of course he's afraid. He's always afraid. You never fought with a sword, so you wouldn't know. When you cast spells at a distance, you're safe, but imagine having to run up on an enemy that's larger than you to fight up and close. That's terrifying. And she basically says the reason why Will runs forward is because he's too scared to run away, and that is what we call courage. This once again makes Theon feel inferior, like it always does, but before he can even make a move or even say anything, as a response, Clennett then says she's going to go in and fight. Theon tries to stop her, but Clennett isn't listening anymore. She's going to help Will no matter what. Will is currently fighting it by himself because both Lyanna and Jagner already got taken out, and Will immediately realizes that his biggest problem is those wings. One, they allow the monster to fly and have unlimited amounts of mobility that Will doesn't have, and two, they block all attacks. So Will's sole goal right now is to take out its wings. That's when it gets pelted with stones. Will then realizes Clennett is with him, and so he realizes that this is a 2-on-1 match, and there's really nothing else that can be done because no one else can fight anymore. The monster blasts Will with its laser again. Will deflects it, but this time you just see the complete dread on his face because a single laser is going to kill Will instantly. And without his goggles, he is terrified. But once again, he doesn't have a choice. It's either fight or die. That's all there is to it. The Duke does that multi-laser shot again, and Will doesn't have Kiki this time to block it. But Will has already seen this attack, which means he knows how to counter it already. And Will does what he always likes to do. He uses his enemy's attack as cover to launch himself into the air, into their blind spot. The only person who realizes what he's doing is Clennett, who then casts a spell to create a magical stone sword for Will. And using the force of both gravity, his arms, and Clennett's sword, he cuts off the wing of the Duke. Before I go any further, I would like to point out this little tiny panel where we get to see Clennett's arm, and it's some kind of bracelet that attaches to her wrist with these needle things, and it kind of like produces magic into her arm. I guess it increases her power. I'm assuming this has to do with her backstory or something with her family, because we have never seen any other mage use this device, and this panel is very much showing off that this is being used by Clennett right now. So it's most likely something important that we'll get back to later. Alright, back to the fight. Now, the Duke has lost half its defense, and it's also lost its ability to fly, but that doesn't change the fact that all Will did was cut off the wing. And now, Will is right in front of it, and it is about to kill him. That is when Theon appears, flying on his guardian. And once again, Theon is, of course, being driven by his jealousy and admiration for Will. Because Will has the bravery to fight up close with a sword, Theon decides he can do the same. He charges forward, uses his guardian as a shield to block the Duke's attack, so this way he can do a massive blow in close range. right on top of the Duke. I'm really beginning to like Theon more and more. The fact that he's heavily inspired by Will and his actions to the point where he wants to outdo Will in all aspects, but he's not doing it in a very toxic way. He's actually showing respect to Will by giving him his dues and then showing that he can keep up with Will by doing the same. If things keep going the way they are, Theon might actually be my favorite character. Will is still my favorite character. I'm really liking him, but Theon is catching up close. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you can enjoy more Wistoria and other May things. Thank you and have a great day.